Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. Today's a special episode. Normally, I record these on Wednesdays when I have my day off and it's time for me to relax. But today, I want to do a special one here. This is by request because a friend of mine was listening to it and said to me he didn't get to hear it right because it didn't sound well on the Anchor app. So what I did is I have actually reviewed my list. This is the WWE Hall of Fame list. And for my friend Chris out there, I wanted to make sure that I got this out to him because he was curious about my opinions. So get ready for this one. This one's going to be a little long video. So basically, right now, currently being inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, we have Dave Batista and the NWO. Talking about Hall, Nash, Six, and I'm thinking Hulk Hogan too, I believe so. So we talk about them. They're going into the Hall of Fame. I'm not a big fan of either one of these guys. Well, the NWO as a group, it's like, okay. But how many people can you really qualify into it? I mean, X-Pac, does he really belong in the Hall of Fame? Do you put Scott Flash Norton? Do you put Vincent? Do you put Mr. Perfect? Do you include the other NWO members, like the Red and Black? No. It's just basically Hall and Nash and Hogan, who really should be in there. But that's aside the point. Triple H is running right now, so we'll call it the Kiss My Ass Club, Part 2, because it isn't Vince as always. It's got to be Triple H. And his other guy, Dave Batista. Some people feel he had a decent career, which I'm not arguing he had a horrible career. I don't think he did. I think he was good enough. But because he's buddies with Triple H, of course, he's got to go in the Hall of Fame. This is the list here I'm getting ready to tell you. And there's 3 other ones that have been talked about over the last couple weeks. There's Jushin Thunder Liger, which, should automatically have gone in years ago. Oh, my God, dude. If we're talking like companies that got bought out, IWGP with that, you're talking about WCW, his big match with Brian Pillman is one of the best ones I remember, that Cruiserweight title match, light heavyweight championship. But I'll never forget that match with him. One of the all-time greats, in my opinion, and well-deserved. I hope he does go in the Hall of Fame. The Bella Twins, really? I get it. Like, people saying that, yeah, they deserved it because they were the foundation for the women's revolution. But they weren't that great. They were both married or dating, top stars, being Daniel Bryan and John Cena, to help get their push. Wasn't really a talent factor, in my opinion. Do I think they go into the Hall of Fame? It's possible. There's speculation on it. Do I think they deserve it? No, I think there's plenty of people that are more deserving. The third guy that just came up here in the last 24 hours, which you're talking about, is the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Now there, in my opinion, singles wrestler, tag team wrestler, deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Really does. He was the European champion. He had, main event matches with Michaels. They won the tag team titles several times. They were always in the mix there. And nobody forgets about Matilda. Matilda was iconic to that team. Birdman Coco Beware goes in because of Frankie, basically. I mean, Coco had a decent short career and should have lasted longer if he wouldn't have gotten that fight. But, he got into the Hall of Fame. So why not the British Bulldogs there? There's speculation there. I think there's a pretty good chance he goes this year. But what I'm getting ready to do is give you my top 30. My top 30 guys, I believe, and girls, should be in the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame. Not the pro wrestling, believe me. There's a lot of guys that really deserve to be in both. Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is more extravagant, in my opinion. The Cauliflower Alley, if you ever get a chance, when they hold it up in Vegas, go out and see it. I highly recommend it, But this is strictly the WWE Hall of Fame. So, number 1 on my list, The Rock, the People's Champ. There's been speculation that he may be added this year. Nobody is really for sure. They might give him one more run. Who knows? I mean, he's The Rock. He's probably the most recognized wrestler, definitely over the last 20 years. I mean, he's been in Hollywood for so long. He's won the world title. His feuds with Austin is always documented. Austin's WWE Hall of Famer. I totally agree that he should be in there. 100%. I'm sure he will be. If not this year, I would say next year. He deserves it. Generally, by the way, they only put about 6, maybe 7 different people / groups in the Hall of Fame per year. Like you might get the Freebirds like they had the one year. That'll count as one. So number two on this list, and the man died. Talking about Vader.
He said number.
Yeah, Vader really belonged on there. Vader, was a Triple Crown champion. He was the WCW World Champion. They used him like he should have been. They used him as the Beast. People didn't want to wrestle once they found out they had to work him. They left. They packed their bags. Enter WWE time. Him and Mick Foley are there. He's managed by Cornette. Michaels makes him look like a crybaby, which sucks. Go look up SummerSlam 96. I believe it is. I believe that was the case, 95 or 96. And Vader, all around, one of the toughest individuals ever to step in the ring. Most definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Will he this year? I don't know. His death happened last year. Really should have went last year, in my opinion, while he was alive, but they didn't. So we'll see what happens. Another one here. This guy needs no introduction. Really, he conquered. He is the streak right there. WrestleMania. He only had one real loss. Yes, he had 2. I know. Roman Reigns beat him, and Brock Lesnar beat him. Of course, I'm referring to The Undertaker. What can I not say about The Undertaker? Undertaker, 25 years plus going out to WrestleMania, destroying people. Involved in the very first Hell in a Cell match. Of course, involved with the other Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley. Throwing him off the cell. So many matches. The Fire match, the Inferno match. World champion, tag team champion. Never need to put the Intercontinental title on him. Gee, I wonder why. Did you really even have it? As soon as he came in, pretty much was fighting Hogan. You wouldn't recognize that from the beginning of his career, in WCW as the pretty much replacement skyscraper for Dan Spivey. But, lo and behold, Sid Vicious, rather. Yeah, Dan Spivey was his partner. Paul Heyman guy back then. Totally deserving. Will he go in the Hall of Fame? The only thing that's holding him up right now is him. Is if he wants to continue to work and continue to wrestle without having that Hall of Fame title to him. I don't think he's ready to hang it up yet. I think he's going to cut more years. He's probably going to go to Saudi and wrestle this year for sure. Already seeing that going down. Let's move on. I'm going back to the old school here. Ivan Koloff. Ivan Koloff was the man. He was the man that beat Bruno Sammartino. He was the man that, and granted, it was only a 24-day time frame that he held that title, the WWF title. But if you look at that time frame, there wasn't a lot of guys that held that belt. And he truly deserved it. I really think he should get in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not. If you guys know a story by any of these, please put it in the comments section. I really like to know. I like to consider myself an historian because I study professional wrestling ever since I was little. I have studied it. I know majority of the history and a lot of the backstory. So if you have a story to share, please put it in the comments. By the way, okay. So we went with that one. Ivan Koloff, my opinion, yes, definitely deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. All these guys here I'm mentioning deserve for whatever reason they do. Kane. Mayor Jacobs. Definitely deserves to go to the Hall of Fame. The guy has won the WWE title. He won the World Heavyweight Championship. You know, I believe he was ECW champion during the WWE Waterdown area. You know, that whole WWE ECW crap, you know, but still was champion. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty certain he was. But anyways, I mean, the matches he had high profile matches with his brother, The Undertaker. He had high profile matches with Austin. He had high profile matches over there with Triple H and Mankind. So many people there. You know, he was a tag team champion. He even got to be funny with Daniel Bryan. So, you know, that was a different side. Nobody expected it. Totally deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Next one here, you know, if you were watching during the Divas era, you know, if you're watching during the Divas era, you remember Victoria. Victoria, I'm telling you, Victoria, she was tough. And she looked really good working. Sorry, I need something to drink here. But she was tough as nails. I mean, she won the Divas title. She took on Trish Stratus in a lot of times with that women's belt. You know, she would do what was asked. She also wrestled with a torn ACL for 1 year. To me, that's extraordinary. That is something that most people wouldn't do. I mean, she also went on to TNA, won their Knockouts title. You know, she is definitely one, I think, that if you're going to categorize the Divas group, she should be in there. Now, of course, I'm talking about the 04 to roughly the Women's Revolution the last couple of years. She is definitely one that should be qualified for that. Another female, and yes, she is inducted with DX, but Chyna needs her own induction. I mean, she was the first female Royal Rumble entrant. She was also the only female that I'm aware of to hold the Intercontinental title. I mean, seriously, folks, she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame by herself. A lot of people have pushed for that. Of course, we know the backstory between her, Hunter, and Steph on why that's not going to go down. I'm happy at least she's a part of it, but really she needs her own introduction. It's just something that should happen, but, you know, they're not going to do that. I think the odds of it are slim. I hope they do eventually. Third female I have here on my list. I'm going around Robin kind of a little bit here, but the third female I have on my list, Miss Elizabeth. People are going, what did she do? Miss Elizabeth was the first female valet really to have a part in wrestling outside of standing in the corner. You know, especially on the WWE mainstream. You had some over there, you know, like gentleman Chris Adams' wife in Austin, back in over there in Global and World Class. You know, they used to have that situation. But really, the most recognizable in the 80s is probably going to be Miss Elizabeth. She managed the Macho Man. He got the Intercontinental title, the World title, you know. Say she managed Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan had the World title. You know, she was involved in that whole storyline. WrestleMania 4 and 5. She had a big thing with George Steele during WrestleMania 2. She was always a factor, and she was regarded with such, you know, prestige. I really feel that she should go in the Hall of Fame. Macho Man goes in the Hall of Fame. I think, you know, Miss Elizabeth should too. Rest in peace, by the way. Next ones I'm going to. Doing a nice tag team here. The Steiner brothers. Rick and Scott Steiner. Big Papa Pump over there and the dog-faced gremlin. You know, when they were a team, they were awesome to watch. You're talking the 80s and the 90s. Pat O'Connor tournament, I'll never forget it because that was one of my favorite actual, like, you know, shows I ever seen of all time. When they had that Pat O'Connor tournament on there in the 80s and they ended up winning it. It was something phenomenal. I mean, they won tag titles in WWE. They won tag titles in the NWA. They won tag titles in WCW. Truly, I think they deserve to go. I mean, do they go this year or next year? It remains to be seen. But they do deserve to be in there, in my opinion. Another one. I'm going down the list here. You know, Christian. How is Christian not in the WWE Hall of Fame? This is my opinion. I mean, Edge is in the WWE Hall of Fame. The Dudley Boys are in the Hall of Fame. You know, I almost have to imagine Matt and Jeff Hardy will eventually be in the Hall of Fame. But Christian, your partner's in there as a singles competitor, and you guys had the 5-second pose. You know, had great work with Kurt Angle, Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. You know, all the other guys in there during that time frame was really, they were utilized well, and they knew how to cut a promo. They went on. I mean, Christian even went on to win the world title. He went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Another guy I feel that should be inducted. Will he get inducted this year or next year? It's possible. I think there's a higher chance than some, but we'll see what happens with him. Another one I have, I'm not 100% sure if they did or didn't. I don't think they got inducted, but that would be Demolition. Demolition, you know, if they are, this is awesome. I apologize ahead of time. But if they're not, they should be. Good God. They held the title for, you know, practically, 300 and some odd days, right before New Day ends up beating it many years later. You know, they're recognizable. Some people will call them the knockoff Road Warriors, and I don't like that. Because they were one of my favorite teams, you know. There's differences with them. Yes, I get it. The Road Warriors had spikes and, you know, Legion of Doom over there. And Demolition, they had their S&M style gimmicks. But, God, they were all tough. And it was great to watch them fight. If you're wanting brawlers, I remember when Jim Duggan partnered up with them in that 6-man, the SummerSlam. And he had the American flag pointed on his face. It was great to watch. You know. So, yeah, if they're not, they should be. Another one I have here, and, you know, a lot of people know who this guy is. And there isn't very many jobbers that belong in the Hall of Fame, but this guy sure does. And that's Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. Brooklyn Brawler wrestled for 30-plus years. Probably WWE's most loyal wrestler they've ever had. He worked as an agent in the backstage. He would dress up as Doink the Clown at times for WWE television. So, I mean, yeah, he earned that right in my opinion. Well deserved. If he does get in, that would be great to see. I would love to see that. Another one here, which according to reports I've heard that it's going to be very hard for him to get in, and that would be King Kong Bundy. I mean, Bundy, what can I say, man? The guy was married with children. Yeah, there you go. There's my big tidbit. No, he took on Hogan WrestleMania 2, you know, for the world title. He was one of the most recognizable Heenan family members, King Kong Bundy. 500 pounds, hit that big splash. 5 count. He had that 5 count, man, I'm telling you. Bundy was huge. And, you know, in the 80s, I used to have his doll. That's why I remember that LGN doll where he'd stand like this, and he was really big and everything. And he definitely deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Never won a title, you know, as far as the WWE goes. But there's some times where titles don't matter. Everybody tells me in the NFL that rings don't matter. This is one of those times where titles don't matter because he was iconic. King Kong Bundy. You can definitely say his name. A lot of people know who he was. You know, should go in the Hall of Fame. Sid Vicious. You know, that's the next one on my list. Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, whatever you want to call him. I think he deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. I just don't know when he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Will he be alive when he goes in the Hall of Fame? God knows they didn't do that for some other ones here. You know, but he should be. He really should be. It's just really sad that, you know, he's not in there yet. I mean, he won WCW's world title. He won WWE's world title twice. He got the main event against Undertaker at WrestleMania. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, Sid should be in there, in my opinion. He had a lot of great qualities. He wasn't the best wrestler. He definitely wasn't the person that could, you know, kill a promo. You know, he wasn't that great on that. But when he stepped in the ring, his presence was felt. I mean, part of the original Skyscrapers, like I said, him and Dan Spivey, you know, really deserved to go into the Hall of Fame. We'll see if he gets there. Now I'm going way back. Okay, there's some guys here that really deserve to go. One of them being Andy Kaufman. People are like, what? Why does he deserve to go? I mean, you look at Andy Kaufman, he was the best heel you would ever see in your life. There was nobody stronger with heat than Andy Kaufman. And Jerry Lawler would definitely attest to it. Because he knew how to work. You know, he knew how to work a crowd. He was the intergender champion. Yes, he was not a great wrestler, but his charisma, his rate to be able to draw people to the show, selling tickets, putting asses in the seats. That's what you have to talk about there with Andy Kaufman. Yeah, his comedian career was really awesome and definitely well recognized. You know, he really came, you know, at a time. If he would have came 20 years later, I don't know if this gimmick would have went out well. Like if it was during this era, oh my God, I can imagine people freaking out because he was chauvinistic and, you know, the only wrestling women for the most part. Really, you know, I think he deserves going to Hall of Fame. Definitely one of the most iconic moments as far as David Letterman's show. He'll definitely tell you about that one. A lot of people still remember that. So here's another one here. And I have kind of mixed emotions on it. You know, but King Mabel, Viscera, whatever you want to call him, he should go into the WWE Hall of Fame. You know, rest in peace. It was just horrible to see that, you know, he didn't get inducted. I mean, he was a King of the Ring winner. He was many-time tag team champion. And he did a lot of jobs that he really shouldn't have necessarily done. You know, I believe that he was a very talented big man. There wasn't a lot of big guys that had the agility like him. I mean, he was 500 plus pounds. The only guy that could really work with Yokozuna in size, and it looked like a real sumo match because those guys were huge. You know, he should definitely get in the Hall of Fame. And just my opinion. Will it happen? Eventually, I'm sure. I'd rather see it sooner than later, but I'm going to say, unfortunately, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years. It's just the way Vince is. I mean, good God, it's the Vince McMahon, you know, kiss my ass club sometimes, what it's called. You know, but they didn't even really do anything for him when he died. Usually when someone dies in professional wrestling, they do a Titantron, they do a 10-bell salute or something. They didn't do shit. They didn't do nothing for him. It was pretty bad. But, yeah, and I was talking about the Bulldog. Now I'm talking about his tag team partner, Dynamite Kid. God, Dynamite Kid. I mean, there's the other half of that team. Not to mention all the accolades to win the titles and stuff, but I mean, the guy was an awesome worker. And yeah, the video's out there of when he actually got hurt and was no longer able to wrestle. He ended up passing away. Really, really sad. I mean, one of the better Canadian wrestlers ever, you know, in my opinion. He had a snap suplex, diving headbutt, you know. It was sad. I think he should go in the Hall of Fame as well. Maybe not as an individual, but definitely as a tag team with the Bulldog. You know, Bulldog could stand either way, but yeah, I would definitely put him as a tag team. Brian Pillman, you know, another Hart Dungeon family member. You know, he really deserves to go in. I mean, good God. Cincinnati kid, played Cincinnati football or whatever, the Bengals. He came out there and he always lighted up a crowd. When he was babyface, you know, he would work it. When he was heel, Hollywood Blondes. You know, God. Those were the best days. I love the Hollywood Blondes. One of my favorite teams of all time, by the way. But, I mean, you even take him when he was with the Hart Foundation. You know, when they reformed up. You know, he was incredible. He was always, he grabbed your attention. He took that and he just went just like that. He got you from your seat, focused on him. Man cut a great promo. The loose cannon, you know, he ended up passing away many years ago. But, you know, well deserved. I think he deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Will he go? It all depends on how WWE sees it. You know, they're still thinking about his travesty. I mean, his son's out there wrestling. So, maybe. We'll see. See what happens there. So we go down the list here. I'm down to 10 more, just to let you know. One of the guys I got here, Danny Davis. If you remember wrestling in the 80s, you remember Danny Davis. Danny Davis was one of the best referees, you know, and notable in the 80s. Of course, everybody remembered Joey Morella. Everybody remembered, you know, Earl Hebner. But Danny Davis was that heel ref. You know, he ended up helped Macho Man win his title. Ended up helping the Hart Foundation win their titles over the Bulldogs. And then eventually became a wrestler. You know. Did a lot of backstage work. You know, worked with OVW a lot. A lot of people credit Danny Davis. You know. So, do I think he deserves his due? Yes. I think he deserves his WWE Hall of Fame induction. I mean, he's gotten some wrestlers to the dance, so I am going to definitely say yes. I would stamp off on that. Jim Cornette. That's my next one. God, Jimmy. You know. Mama's boy. You know, in the 80s, they used to mess with him on that. Wearing that, you know, blazer out there and that tennis racket. Having the Midnight Express, you know, coming out there. Great talker of the game. You know, probably the most smartest man I know as far as professional wrestling goes. Some people don't agree with him. And he recently got cut out of NWA Power for his derogatory comments. Which, come on, dude. Really? You know, I swear to God. I didn't know professional wrestling got soft nowadays, but he definitely didn't deserve it. Does he need to go in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Does he deserve it? Yes. He inducted the Rock and Roll Express. I mean, God, you need to have Bobby Eaton, Sweet Stan Lane inducted with him. He needs to be inducted. He deserves it. You know, I mean, he helped a lot with the Attitude Era in the 90s. You know, he had a lot of, you know, help in the 80s there with the NWA. I think he totally deserves. So the next one here, this is actually another Attitude Era person, you know, and she is probably the most recognizable of the Attitude Era. I think I would call her the most recognizable. And I'm talking about Brock Lesnar's wife, Rena Mero, otherwise known as Sable. Excuse me, Sarah. Yeah, wrong person there. You know, because she was married to Mark Mero. They got divorced and she married Brock Lesnar. You know, I don't blame her for ditching Mark. I mean, God, in my personal opinion, what was Mark thinking when he got power bombed by Sable? I mean, his career got killed. It did. It got killed. You know, it was really sad. But, I mean, she was recognized as one of the hottest women during the 90s. Definitely the most downloaded female. I think her and Sonny. Sonny's already in the Hall of Fame, and that's a whole nother topic. But, you know, she definitely, you know, needed to go. She needs to go in the Hall of Fame, I think. I think it's well-deserved. I mean, she won the women's title. She had profile matches. She did break the barrier between valet and women's wrestler. I mean, Fabulous Moolah was there in the 80s, but once she retired, it died down, and it really took Alundra Blaze to start to bring that when she's in the Hall of Fame, but Sable really to personify, you know, that. And then plus, they invented the bra and panties matches. I mean, good God. Seriously, if you were an Attitude Era wrestling fan, you missed those. They were great. So, yeah, I think she gets in the Hall of Fame. Gold Dust. Dustin Runnels. That's a guy that definitely deserves it. Good God. I mean, started wrestling, you know, in the 80s there. in the WWF when he was over. His dad, Dusty, was in the WWF. Started as a mark, they planted him, got him in there to fight with his daddy. Went to WCW, the natural Dustin Rhodes, won the United States title, had great feuds with Austin, and many other guys. Had Barry Windham there with him a lot. Then he became Gold Dust during the Attitude Era. Won the Intercontinental Championship. Put The Undertaker in a casket. Not many people could say they did that. Won tag team titles. Totally deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Yes, he is now currently in AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Will it ever happen? I don't know. It'll all depend whenever either a merger or something happens. I don't think he can do it. The guy's wrestled through 4 decades. The son of the plumber, baby. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, come out there with the bionic elbow, baby. But, well-deserved. He needs to go in. I really believe. There's a couple guys over in AEW. He's one of them, and they need to induct him. I'd say real soon. I'd say in the next couple of years. They should, if not this year. So here we go. Number 25. Number 25. This man really deserves to go. Because you think about all the intros that come into play. All the songs that you hear coming out, with your favorite wrestler. The Undertaker's theme song, Vader, DX, all them. Jim Johnston, the man who worked with him for almost 30 years and created majority of people's intros, recently has been released, no longer working with the company. I think he truly deserves to come in. That would be one guy, non-wrestler that really deserves. Just my opinion. The Anthology album was one of their highest selling albums ever. Had everybody's recognizable theme song on there. Most of them were from him. So he definitely deserves it. Number 26. Vince McMahon. Does Vince McMahon go into his own Hall of Fame? That's my question. You think about this. Without Vince Jr., would you be able to say there'd be professional wrestling today? It's a tough thing to sell, in my opinion, because he did revolutionize it from local closed circuit wrestling to now cable television and now all over the world. Vince Sr.'s in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves it as well. So, might as well. And while I'm at it, I might as well go with Stephanie McMahon here. Stephanie McMahon, she's ran a lot of the business side. But, she's had her involvement. She's there with Triple H. She's won the women's title. Not the greatest accomplishment, but she did. She did pretty good with the women's championship. But she's always had a high influence, and she's taken the women's revolution up to a new level. Without her, I don't know if Vince would have done it. I think her influence had a lot to impact that, and I think she does get into the Hall of Fame eventually. Next one here, I'm down to my final 3. They're all 3 Canadians, and in my opinion, they were definitely 3 of the best. First one, Owen Hart. Owen Hart, really deserves it. God, in the 80s, the Blue Blazer, he would even take him and Coco Beware as high energy. A team that was destined to flop, but still make it entertaining. He was the member of the Nation Domination. He was the white dude that was with most of the Nation of Domination guys. Talking about, I'm not a nugget. I'm the black card, the sole survivor. Woo! Owen was my boy. God, he was funny. He was really funny. And everybody always talks about his ribs. Probably the only other most influential guy was Mr. Fuji. But as far as ribs go, Owen would always put them on him. Totally deserved, Hart family. won the Intercontinental title, Tag Team Champion, European Champion, you know. Didn't win the world, but he definitely deserves. Last two here, Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. And yeah, I'm going to talk about Jericho first. Because Jericho, AEW guy. First undisputed champion. Probably, I think he won pretty much every belt in the WWE. Really deserved it. And it's because he's in AEW that he may not get that whenever that merger happens. But, hopefully one day they'll merge, or AEW will be no more, be bought out by Vince, or whatever the case may be, because I'm sure it's eventually going to happen. We'll see how long it lasts on TNT. Some people love it, some people don't. Some people have not fallen in love with it since they saw it. I'm one of those. But Chris Jericho, definitely hell of a worker. Much respect. And, yeah, he should go into the WWE Hall of Fame. And like I said, my last one, Chris Benoit. The reason why Chris Benoit won't get in the Hall of Fame is the whole murder-suicide, until it's proven correctly. There are so many theorists out there that say it was somebody else. Some say it was Kevin Sullivan. Some say it was, somebody unknown. Some people say he did it. I don't think he did it. It's a lot of stuff there to be able to digest. No one's going to know for sure. But nobody can doubt, outside of those last 3 days of his life, that he was probably the greatest wrestler of all time. He was one of the best for sure. Nobody was more technical, than I've ever seen. They call Dean a man of 1,000 holds, but I don't know, Benoit, God, he was the crippler. He would hurt you if you did something wrong. Oh yeah, I mean, emulated Dynamite Kid. His son's working. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Because if he signs with the WWE, which, there's a possibility, there's going to be a lot of talk about it. And, he wants to, have his theme music and play, have his tights, going to come under his name possibly. A lot of talk on that. But, yeah, Benoit will probably be the one that should be in the Hall of Fame that probably won't, unfortunately. And if he ever does, I might be alive by then. I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about 40, 50 years if he has a shot to get there, because that man, to me, was the best. I could watch a Benoit match anytime, any day against anyone. That would be the number one person I'd watch. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. This has just been a great list for me to put together. I wanted to make sure I did it. I want to give a shout out to Chris Whitney out there. Thank you, Chris. I wanted to make sure that you got this, because I know you couldn't hear it the last time when I tried to do it. But thank you all, folks. I will have another episode this week. I'm going to talk about the whole Myles Garrett reinstatement, talk about the XFL going on, and I am out.